Hello, everyone. You're all arriving. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. We're joined today by Centennial College to discuss an exclusive offer of subsidized energy audits for Canadian hotels. So exciting. My name is Rebecca Bartlett-Jones. I'm the director of Green Global. We are, as you know, the leading sustainable certification program for North America's hotel and lodging industry. Today's presentation is on energy audits, and it's an exclusive offer for you. But before we get started, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. So your participation is encouraged. At any time during today's webinar, please use the Q&A function to ask your questions. Use the thumbs up icon to upvote questions in the queue. That will help us get to your questions more quickly. And as a heads up, we'll be recording today's session, and it will be available on demand on the Green Global website and YouTube. So Centennial's comprehensive energy audit evaluates your operations, current energy consumption, and identifies potentially energy efficient alternatives. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce you today to Wenzi, Manager of Research and Innovation at Centennial College. So thank you for being here today, and I'm really looking forward to learning about Centennial's energy audits. So over to you, Wenzi.
Thanks very much, Rebecca, and thanks for Green Global to inviting us. I'm really excited to present this opportunity at Centennial. And so I have tried to make it also a little bit more educational so that you can learn what kind of an energy audit you need. So throughout today's presentation, I'll give you some examples as to what a good energy audit is. And then show you how to basically make your decisions. At what level do you need your facilities to be audited, and what do you need to achieve with your energy audit? We find that depending on where you come from, very likely if you come from one of the larger chains, you sleep and breathe carbon accounting and energy management. But we find that if you come from a standalone or a smaller chain, very often you don't really have the staff to bring your knowledge up to date with all the carbon crediting and energy management options that are there. The really tricky thing about hotels is that they're all different. And so really what applies to your facility may not be applicable to anybody else, or the things that make sense for your hotel may not be applicable to anywhere else. And so I hope that today's seminar really opens for you a few avenues. I will also present a few resources that are out there and freely available to you so that you can manage your energy management strategies and plans. That said, the opportunity that I will present today is really a subsidized energy audit. That means that a great chunk of the cost of the audit, which I will present today, is covered by our energy grant. Switch slides, please. So a little bit about Centennial College. Centennial College is the first public college in Ontario. We have 5 campuses, all located within the eastern part of the GTA. We have the largest school of transportation in the country. We have the Bombardier Aerospace Center, biotechnology and chemistry department, as well as the 5 schools of engineering that are located on the Progress campus. Switch over, please. We do active research in several areas, obviously, data analytics, advanced manufacturing. Centennial is part of the Southern Ontario manufacturing network. We do research in aerospace, wearable medical technology, social innovation, transportation, and really today's grant opportunity comes through our energy department. So Centennial is an expert in renewable energy. We do train energy auditors as well as solar engineers, wind turbine engineers. So we're very big into renewable energy and all kinds of applied energy research. So we were awarded the 4.5 million NSERC Energy Grant, out of which this auditing opportunity comes. It is really to advance research and meet the needs of industry. It catalyzed kind of research and innovation within the renewable energy space. As I mentioned, the ASHRAE Energy Grant provides really good matching funds. So out of the total cost of the budget, and I'll talk a little bit how we come to that later on, 67% will be covered by our grant, and only 33% is your cash contribution, which is amazing for things like energy audits and anything else you might need a feasibility study on renewable energy. Next slide, please. So what is an energy audit? An energy audit really is a comprehensive view of where, when, why, and how do you use energy with your facility. And so it really takes a look at everything. It takes a look at your cooling, at your refrigeration, is your lighting, is your ventilation, what kind of office equipment you have, anything that you use, appliances for cooking, and so on. The audits that we do are done in accordance with the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, or the meets the ASHRAE requirements. So you actually can use the report that you get at the end for any type of certification or any type of kind of planning your further or next steps within an energy management plan. The energy audit will give you information not only about how to improve efficiency within your facilities, but also, let's say, if you have done already quite a bit, or you have done certain improvements that are supposed to be green or improve energy efficiency, the audit can actually evaluate the energy efficiency of those projects that you have already implemented. So in a way, you can use it to certify, so, okay, this was a good step. Should we do more of those further on? In addition, the audit will calculate the carbon footprint of your facility. And so it will give you also an estimate as to how to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions and kind of position you position you so that you can judge whichever way you need to implement further measures to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. You can switch slides now. So there's really three things that should come out of an energy audit. The first one is the benchmarking. What is that? And so the ASHRAE, or the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, refers to benchmarking as sort of the preliminary energy use analysis. So you'd want to collect your energy bills, your facilities energy data. You will review it, and then you will compare your energy consumptions with facilities that are very similar to yours and are within your area. And so this is essentially your benchmarking your facility towards theirs. So there are a couple of free energy portfolio managers. These are software available free of charge online that will allow you to benchmark your facilities to other hotels within your area. And then you can depending on, for example, the size of your building, the location, the number of occupants, the number of rooms, the number of PCs you have. Once you input this data into the software, the score algorithm will estimate how much energy the building would use. Should it be performing superbly or should it be performing really poorly? And so once you enter your energy bill data afterwards, then it can benchmark how is your predicted and perfect energy management situation looking towards your current values. We find very often that even though those software are available online, in many cases, if your management staff doesn't have the time to watch endless videos on how to use those software become essentially unavailable to you. So what you can do is you can reach out to us and we'll sit with you and benchmark your hotel in the system. We pick one of those softwares that's convenient and easy for you to use. And so after that, you can always go back to your account and see, okay, I changed that. How does my benchmarking now look like? So we can do that for you. It's a very short in-person session. We just basically get you setup within one of these portfolio managers so that you can track your data over time. The second really important thing when you do an energy audit is to really establish your baseline, because this will not be your first energy audit. So the idea is that every few years or after implementing certain things, you might want to do a short energy audit again, and you can do it yourself. Just to be able to really track numerical data and quantitative data, rather than thinking that the changes you did actually did contribute quite a bit, whereas that doesn't always happen to be the case. So establishing the energy baseline. So how do you do it? Essentially, what we recommend is that you pick a period of time typically. So typically your energy baseline will be a 1 year, a year where it is fairly recent, and a year for which you have really good records of what you paid on electricity, what you spent on fuels, on transportation, and so on. So it's really important that you have quite a bit of data for the year that you pick as your baseline, because this is essentially based on this, you will from now on determine what your carbon footprint looks like, what your energy consumption looks like, and your baseline needs to, it's up to you what measures to include in your baseline, but it really should reflect all the relevant areas for you. It should reflect areas like lighting, it should reflect areas like I know it's sometimes very difficult because very often your facility may be on a single meter, but let's say if you've decided to sub-meter to be able to keep track of individual areas, that might be something, as your baseline, pick a year where you already have this data. So it's a lot easier for you to track the end use of your energy. The most important thing, and this is where it really makes sense to have an energy auditor walk you through the process at least once, is the analysis of the data. And I'll give you an example of an energy audit that we did. You can switch slides now, Ailey. So this is a really large facility with a very complicated energy management system, excellent records, a facility where multiple fuel types are used to power various parts of the facility. So essentially, what we wanted to do first is we wanted to do kind of an overall inventory of their energy use, and most importantly, their energy use patterns. So what they used to do is from year to year, they will just sum the total bill of whatever they paid for their energy costs, and more or less kind of look at it within the year. What we did, and what an energy auditor will do, is they will pick a previous year as a baseline. So in this case, we use 2018, 2019 as a baseline, and compare everything to that year. So if you take a look at the graphs, you see that, for example, their diesel consumption from year to year, 2019, 20, 21, 22 remains almost unchanged. Whereas their gasoline consumption in 2021 nearly doubled, and then it stayed double in 2022 as well. So this was when we first showed them this came as a bit of a surprise to them. Then we looked at all the other energy types that they were using. So natural gas didn't really change, but electricity, if you notice on the bottom graph, it actually dropped during those periods as well. So basically we said, oh, well, something that was running on electricity is now running on gasoline. And this actually, this particular way of looking at data, over time and just splitting really the fuels, it's really important, because with changes in electrical utilities and, avoiding peak power with electricity, how your energy is distributed within your facility, or where do you draw the most energy out towards the most power consuming appliances. This is really important. And so it is really important to look at your energy performance, not only within the year, but you try to divide it as much as possible into either fuel type, and then definitely look over the pattern between the years, so that you can really adequately assess the benefits of you making a decision to, let's say, switch to more renewable natural gas, or have a CHP unit, or, switch to cogeneration. This will allow you to actually evaluate the real performance of the improvements that you're planning. You can switch slides now. So before you enter into an energy audit, we always recommend that you first decide what is really you wanted to achieve with it. And, there's various scenarios. Why do you want to do an energy audit? Once, do you want to explore whether there's any ways that you can save energy? Are you planning to anyway invest some funds into maybe putting some renewable energy, and you're just trying to see what will benefit the most, and how much do you actually need to put to be having an effect on your energy balances? Are you just trying to reduce the carbon footprint, or are you trying to obtain, let's say, a green designation? Let's say you have done already quite a few things and you feel comfortable with applying for any of those designations. You just want to simply have somebody say, yeah, this looks good, and the energy management plan is great. You are definitely avoiding all, the best energy, the greenest energy, as they say, is the energy you don't really use. So there's sufficient amounts of saving within an energy plan, and you have implemented sufficient amount of renewable energy, so everything looks good. Or are you doing an energy audit because you actually have an increased load of the building, and so you are looking to increase capacity? So depending on what you really want to do, it really depends. That also can tell you the level of energy audit you need to do, or how deep you need to dive within your energy management, and actually, do you actually have to measure things, or is it good enough that you just take a look? One thing we always say is that, before you even jump into an energy audit and decide to really go for one, maybe you just want to consider a feasibility study first. This is particularly, you can switch slides, Ailey. This is particularly valuable for, let's say, if you're planning a new installation of solar photovoltaics. For example, solar panels and solar arrays, they're a little bit like Christmas lights, I always say. If you shade a couple of them, the rest of the array doesn't work. So really your location and what's the shading of your building from the surrounding buildings is very important to how much solar you need to put, where to put it, how to put it, and so on. And so you can just come and say, hey, can you guys fit a feasibility study? We want to explore the opportunity of putting solar photovoltaics on the building. And so depending on the building address, we actually do have an in-house software that will calculate the shading, do the economics of the solar PV, and say, okay, in order for you to be worth it and to have the return on investment with the current utilities, the current cost of the utilities, you need to put at least that much solar. What will be the perfect installation pattern for those? So you can do just a feasibility study before you even proceed to making the solar PV as part of your energy auditing plan. A lot of facilities are considering, depending on the land you have, installing an anaerobic digester so that you can produce renewable natural gas that can feed back into utilities. This is really land specific. You really need the land to it for it. So it is again calling probably for a feasibility study before you start calculating things within your energy management plan. Combined wind and solar is another very popular nowadays green solution towards your energy needs. And, we're not really talking about those giant wind turbines that you may imagine, but, a lot of hotels are considering putting these smaller wind solar combined units to power their parking lots or to power parking meters if you have some on the property or closer to the properties. And, we've done tons of those studies, and really depends on your location. So again, feasibility study is really important, because if you are out in the open, wind turbines are great of any size because they do perform well. But if you're in an urban area, combined wind and solar, it really doesn't work, because unless you put them on top of your building, where they may actually get some wind. But if you're having them down at parking lot level to power your utilities on the parking lot, if you're in an urban area, the solar will always outperform it. And so the wind is basically not really worth having in this case, because it becomes just a maintenance issue, but it doesn't really reach the potential. And then again, if you want to consider whether a cogen or a trigen, depending on your energy usage, is again, probably just go first for a feasibility study and then incorporate it into your energy management plan. You can switch slides. So again, depending on the type, on what you need through your energy audit, or what you need your energy audit for, there's various levels of energy auditing. So the first one is what you would call a level 1. So the level 1 is really the most basic audit that there is. These are usually fairly fast. If they are done in person, they take, depending on the facility, literally a morning to do. In a smaller facility, if you're pretty simple and very straightforward operations, single meter, those usually take 2 to 4 hours of a walkthrough. So the level 1 audit is really, you would walk through, if you have your energy auditor will walk through with your energy manager or the manager, whoever is responsible for the operations of the facilities, ask questions here and there. And really what this will tell you is kind of the obvious things. And the obvious things you probably already know. But the good thing in this case is, with this level 1 audit, is that it does really take a look at your utility bills, as well as tries to benchmark. You will be benchmarked against facilities of your type and size. You will have a baseline calculated of your kind of current or last year's or the year before's energy use patterns. And then you can, as a result of this, you basically will have some recommendations for some low-cost upgrades and some energy efficiency projects that you might want to prioritize depending on your facility. But this is very, although there is an official report at the end, this is something that, let's say, if you have done already quite a few things and you just want somebody to certify that, with the improvements that you have implemented, you really get a reduced energy efficiency, and your energy management is a lot more efficient. If you really want to kind of include now the, let's say you put in a solar array, and now you want to have the calculations taking the solar array into consideration of your energy management cost reduction and usage reduction. So that is, this particular level is of energy auditing is appropriate for that. So for any sort of green designations, that would work as well. If you're, let's say, you're very remote, or you really, your operations don't really allow you to have an energy auditor on site, because this is such a how should I say, very basic evaluation of your facilities, this particular level of energy auditing can also be done remotely. So it's typically what we will do is we will send you our typical questionnaire, and involves this can be very detailed questions on your equipment and facilities. What exactly do you have? And so what kind of light bulbs do you have, for example? So you can walk through your facility and answer these questions, and then you can provide us with your energy bills, let's say over the last few years, and then we can basically do the report and do some energy analysis and energy modeling for you. And this can also raise the interest, or maybe give you some information as to what really is the next project that is most worth it for you to invest in. You can switch slides, Ailey. The next level is level 2. And this is it builds basically on the level 1. So everything that you do in level 1, you would do here as well. But this one will basically give you a little bit more detailed energy calculations. And basically the energy consumptions will be really broken down by end use, or we at least try our best in cases where this is not possible. As part of level 2, what Centennial does offer as well is we actually can plug in an equipment called the energy analyzer, and we leave it plugged in for a week or 10 days to collect the data. And so this is really through the analysis of that data, especially if you're, as I said, if you're on a single meter, through the analysis of that data, we can actually give the recommendations as to whether you're actually losing any energy and what the remediation for that might be. So that is something that typically the majority of the energy auditors will do as a level 3. But we find that the data that comes out of this kind of analysis is usually pretty useful. And so we do, with our audits, we do it with the majority of the level 2 audits as well. We do also take into consideration the rates of the utility, and then utility data over a long term, a little bit of a longer term period. So we do a little bit of energy modeling for you as well, just to see how, for example, your bills will move if you avoid, let's say, peak power, or if you put in a battery, or if you put in a solar. So this all can be done within the level 2. And so really what you should use this level of analysis for is to plan bigger energy projects. So really it's meant for you, because there is a calculation of the financial return as part of the audit. It will allow you to build a business case for larger in implementing, various energy measures within your facility. Next slide, please. And then the level 3 is really a very detailed energy audit. And so it involves what you call an investment grade level audit. And if you're planning on large renovations and you really need to calculate the return on investment of those, so the large renovations within 1 or 2 year periods, that level of energy auditing is also the most expensive. So if you go to level 1, for example, level 1 can range anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000. Just for the walkthrough, the energy analysis of the bills, recommendations or certification. You can consider, let's say, if it's a $2,000 energy audit, if you expense 67% through the grant, it becomes a very good matching for what it is. Level 3 energy audit can cost anywhere between 15 and to 25,000, depending on the facility. So this is a very how should I say, committed investment into your energy management plan. And so you really will have to do this with your intention inside to be able to invest into larger projects related to energy. So that's probably the only thing I will say here. You can switch further. So, any energy audit will involve basically two parts. The first part will be data collection, whether it's done through a walkthrough as a level 1, or whether it's done through actual measurements, as in, let's say, level 2 or level 3. So you would basically collect data from all of your system. You will collect data from your lights, heating, cooling, ventilation, electrical equipment. So these are all the appliances that you have. For example, in level 2, you will need to prepare an inventory, or we will prepare an inventory of even all the appliances that you have in every room. So it can get fairly detailed in terms of reporting and the levels of inventory that we need to do. Motors, what kind of motors, pumps, AC, refrigeration, the age of the equipment, the manufacturers, and so on, hot water system, building envelope, whether you have an insulation or whether not. We do have a thermal camera, so we can track those things as well as all of your bills in terms of fuels, electricity, and anything that may fall within your energy management plan. The second part is really the data analysis. It very importantly, the load of the building and whatever goes into illumination, cooling, and heating, determining your base case scenario, as well as some energy simulations for the following years and the years to come. Presentation of the energy management opportunities that arise as a result of the data analysis, like what probably should be the next step, as well as the greenhouse gas emission calculations and some financial calculations on the return of investment. And then next slide, please. So really, before you do an energy audit or before you invite an energy auditor, start prepared, because this will make sure that the audit, you get the most out of it. So you really need to collect some data, or have the data available, or know how to access it. Sometimes when you request, I know we work quite a bit with Toronto Hydro, and sometimes when we request the bills for certain years, it takes some time until you get them. So start prepared. If you think you're going to be doing an energy audit, request these bills ahead of time, and so you will need to know any utility. You will need to collect any utility bills. So this will be electricity, natural gas, propane, water, any alternative fuels. You will need to know the hours of operation per structure. How often do you use it, per day, per week, or how many months per year? You will need to have the heating and cooling equipment description. So really more of an inventory of what you have, manufacturers, BTU output, the runtime, heating and cooling temperature regimens, like what's the temperature that you would like to keep in your guest rooms, what's the range of the temperature that the guests are allowed to change, and so on. You will need your water bills, any bills or any cost that you have associated with transportation, hot water heater sizes, models, numbers, storage tanks, gallons. Either if you don't have this type of inventory already done, we definitely can do it for you. Pumps, compressors, motors, so anything literally that is part of your energy systems. You need to have the year of the manufacturer, the year, the power of it, how much BTU does it uses. You need to know its schedule, how often does it run, ventilation, circulation, fans in use, quantity, size, run times per year, lighting, inside, outside, number of fixtures, the lamp types, are they LEDs, are they T8s, wattages, and how many hours are they used per day? Are they in a 24-hour lit area? Do you have the motion detectors to switch them off, and so on? Next slide, please. So essentially, if you wanted to schedule an energy audit to take advantage of the grant, please do so. You can go on Centennial College, and within the energy research portfolio, you can find the link to that, or you can just simply email me. Thank you very much. I hope you found it helpful.
Thank you so much, Wenzi. That was amazing. I learned a ton just from not even doing the energy audit, just from going through and listening to everything that you had to say, especially the feasibility study part. That's so useful to do the feasibility study first. Like if you were thinking of changing to solar, and then you can get that whole thing done, and then you know if it's like advantageous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And you know how much you need to actually make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Well, I hope that everyone else enjoyed the whole presentation. Ailey, do we have any questions?
No, there's no questions right now. So if anybody has any questions, I recommend asking them in the Q&A right now, or you can reach out after and then we can answer by email.
Absolutely. And also just to remind everyone that this session has been recorded. So it would be extremely useful to go back and listen to everything again. We will post it on our website, definitely, and send you all out the link as well. But I don't see any more questions coming through. So Wenzi, we'll leave it there and say thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Is fantastic. Yeah. And perhaps we'll invite you to come back perhaps a little bit later in the year, as we have quite a few people on vacation. But yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Bye.
Thank you everybody for joining.